The fate of the Ethekwini Municipality hangs in the balance as political parties throw daggers at each other, threatening the stability of the council and demanding the mayor's resignation after the municipality's failure to spend allocated funds meant for infrastructure development. Good evening, my name is Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh, and welcome to Unfiltered. How deep in crisis is the Ethekwini Municipality? Does its current state warrant that it be placed under administration, or is this politicking in view of the looming elections? Tonight we ask, is the Ethekwini Municipality about to implode? And joining us for this discussion are Ethekwini EFF chairperson Themba Mvubu, IFP Durban Metro chairperson Mdu Nkosi, as well as ActionSA KwaZulu-Natal provincial leader Zwakele Mncwango. Both the African National Congress and the Ethekwini Municipality couldn't join us. Do remember to join this discussion via X using @Unfiltered SABC, but first, let's watch this insert produced by Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh.
Recent scenes of confrontation at the Ethekwini Municipality Council chambers as political parties are at loggerheads over the unspent conditional grant worth 1.5 billion rand.
We're not going to give them roses if they come and manhandle us and punch us. We're not going to do that. So there is really nothing that the AFF members did which is not permissible. Because if you come and bring violence to me, what is it that I must do? We are allowed. Self-defense is there in law.
The grant received in March this year was earmarked for the repairs of the infrastructure damaged by the devastating floods last year. The money injected by National Treasury, meant to help the city rebuild its infrastructure, is now a subject of contestation as the municipality's coalition partners, the ANC and the EFF, point fingers at each other for failing to spend the much-needed funds.
The 1.5 billion rand was only received in March 2023, 3 months before the end of our financial year. In terms of the grant framework, the municipality has 12 months to spend the grant. Therefore, it was impossible for the municipality to complete SCM processes of more than 700 projects that are worth 1.5 billion within 3 months.
Opposition parties criticized the city for poor financial management and a lack of foresight. 5 months ago, the IFP called for the municipality to be placed under administration for its failure to deliver services and restore damage that was caused by last year's floods. In addition, the city has in recent times had numerous issues with providing water to residential areas such as Umhlanga, failed to maintain and keep its beaches and pools clean.
As the IFP, we feel that for the problems that we see at Ethekwini, it looks like there is no serious conviction to become an overall accounting authority in order to ensure that the people of Ethekwini, they get what they deserve.
Earlier this year, the Auditor General released a scathing report against the municipality in which it bemoaned the lack of accountability after it discovered close to 5 billion rands of irregular expenditure. Last month, the municipality suspended several city officials allegedly linked to irregular and fraudulent transactions worth 17 million rands. And the city's former mayor, Zwakele Mncwango, is currently on trial for allegedly stealing from the public purse. With the ANC having cast aspersions on its coalition partner and announcing that it is assessing the viability of the party's relationship, and the opposition's threat to file a motion of no confidence against the mayor, it remains to be seen whether the Ethekwini Council will remain the same in the near future. For Unfiltered, I'm Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh.
Welcome back to Unfiltered, and let's dive into our discussion. Mr. Mdu Nkosi, and apologies, I believe I called you Spoo in the intro. Mr. Nkosi, you've come out guns blazing, calling for a motion of no confidence. But before we get there, what's your assessment of why this conditional grant related to disaster relief wasn't spent this financial year? And do you buy the explanations that have been provided subsequent to that fateful council meeting last week?
Thank you, Mr. Mpofu, and good evening to you and also to the two colleagues, Mr. Mvubu and Mr. Mncwango, and also to your viewers. Well, for Ethekwini, that is a metro, which have been faced with disaster that are happening almost every year, you require officials that will have proper planning. Now, the explanation that has been put there, for me, 3 months is enough because you need to plan accordingly if you run the municipality. Remember that as municipalities, we are doing what the Constitution requires us in terms of Section 152. So it cannot be correct that grants are not spent and you find the mayor trying to justify why. Ethekwini have a collapsed infrastructure. The sewer is flowing all over in Ethekwini. People does not have services, your water, some days, some months. That is unacceptable. Now, it discourages even ratepayers to continue encouraged to pay because there are no services that are rendered. You drove even in Pinetown, you see the state of the roads, even in the city center. I don't want to mention when you go to our townships. Now, for the metro's caliber, you can't have a situation where the Treasurer General will then decide to take the exorbitant amount of 1.2 billion or 1.9 billion because it has not been spent. So we feel as IFP that something it doesn't equal well. The writing is in the wall that the metro is collapsing. Remember, there are interventions already under Section 154. Now, National Treasury cannot introduce Section 154 if there is no problem. That's why you once said as IFP, maybe the metro need to be placed under administration. So then leadership that is there, led by the Mayor Kaunda and the city manager himself, which is official, can realize how the situation is desperate it is because people on the ground does not receive services at all.
Right, and we will come to this question of placing the municipality under administration because I think it is a key one. But just sticking with this question of the grant, Mr. Mvubu, of course, the EFF was very vocal, and we saw the scenes in the council meeting. What do you say to the response that has come from the leadership of the municipality that they only had 3 months to spend this grant, and it was impossible for them to spend the grant in that time? They've asked for it to be rolled over to the next year, and so all is not lost.
No, thank you very much, Sizwe. Good evening to you, and good evening to the colleagues there on the virtual platform, and good evening to your viewers at home. Look, I mean, as the EFF, we've made this very clear that it is totally unacceptable that a city like Ethekwini, which has been hit by a serious disaster, especially last year in April, that then we are going to have a situation whereby our officials are not going to be able to put processes in place. Because remember, there's a commitment was made about a year ago by the president of the country, Mr. Ramaphosa. There were some monies that were going to be given to the city of Ethekwini to be able to rebuild and deal with all other issues that were related to the infrastructure that was damaged. So this is why actually the EFF caucus correctly protested in the council to say we are not going to allow the head of the administration in the form of the city manager to be part of the meeting whereby we had just recently received a letter from National Treasury to say they are not willing rather to roll over the 1.2 billion which was given to the city to deal with the issues of fixing the infrastructure and all other disaster-related measures that happened. And but I just want to take it further. We are very much happy because as of today, there was a council sitting that it was a continuation of the council today, which took place virtually. And then there was a confirmation, and we got the letter from the National Treasury desk. They are then going to give back that's 1.5 billion, which initially they had said they are going to take away from the city. So we are very happy with this as the EFF, because it just goes to prove that whatever debts we were raising there, we were raising genuine concern. And it was going to be unexplainable to the people of Ethekwini who still don't have houses, and the people then can't get to drive on certain roads because certain roads are still damaged. So we feel like we are very much vindicated in terms of how we got to deal with that issue. Thank you.
And the ANC and the municipal leadership has been at pains to say that the EFF, of course, serving as chairperson of the Council on Infrastructure and Human Settlements, actually does play a role. Of course, it's different to MMCs in other municipalities because of the difference in Ethekwini. But what do you say to the charge that you do actually have a key role in infrastructure and human settlements and could have played a role in avoiding this crisis before it reached this level?
That's exactly what we did, Sizwe. Remember, as the chairperson of the committee, there are meetings, compliance meetings that gets to take place each and every month. And every time that we get reports from the city officials to get the progress reports in terms of what are the plans that are there in place to be able to deal with whatever challenges that we are faced with. More often than not, you will get a response that we are battling to get signatures, necessary signatures from the city manager in particular. So then, if then you have a situation whereby the National Treasury is saying that you are taking funds because you are failing to spend, and when you hold the officials on these monthly meetings to account, they get to tell you that the problem that we have is the city manager. We don't know what this guy is busy with. We are really battling to get a signature so that this report can be processed and the letters of appointment can be given to contractors. Then it was correct on our parts as the people that are presiding over this committee, providing political direction and guidance, that we correctly call for the person who's responsible to preside over the administration of Ethekwini to say, you are the one that must actually take a blame if we were to lose this 1.2 billion.
Right, and I mean, let me bring in Mr. Mncwango there, and I will come back on this because it's an important question. But Mr. Mbele, the city manager, has been at the center of these allegations. There have been suggestions made by the EFF that the ANC is not in control and that the city manager is able to take decisions even against the will of the political leadership. What's your assessment, Mr. Mncwango, of the balance of blame here? Does it lie with the political leadership or is it the administration itself?
Look, thank you, and greetings to you and the colleagues and the viewers at home.
Greetings.
Look, Sizwe, the here is Ethekwini have no leadership. We are on autopilot. I'll give you the reason why I'm saying that there is no leadership at all. I don't believe you can only blame officials. I think there is no leaders that can really take this ship to move forward. The rollover request was not for 1.5 billion, was actually 1.9 billion rand rollover. And Treasurer only granted a rollover for 1.6 billion rand, which means Treasurer didn't agree with about 3 billion rand. Let's put those facts correctly. And there were reasons why Treasurer can't really allow a rollover of 3 billion rand. So we don't have a solution at yet. But also, what one must say, Sizwe, the issue of disaster happened last year, and in April. When it happened, we realized the city was failing to fix infrastructure. It was ActionSA that went to court to try and force the city to do what they are mandated to do in terms of the law, which is deal with infrastructure. And I can tell you, Sizwe, when we went to court, the municipality said they have a plan, but they've got no budget. Then when we demanded the plan, they couldn't give us a plan. Then they received the budget. We went back to court. We said, okay, now they've got money. Can you get the plan? Let me tell you, Sizwe, I had to go back with our legal team to beg the judge to really force the city to give us a plan, because when they received this 1.5 billion rand allocation from COGTA, it was found that the city have no plan at all. So the mayor can't come and make an excuse now and say it was a short time. They had no plan at all. That is why they couldn't spend money. And the city is in trouble this way. It's collapsing. For example, last month, we had to write off about 700 million rand. I got load shedding, sorry.
Oh,
we had to write off load shedding.
Don't worry, I know the feeling. I know the feeling. But we can still hear you and see you loud and clear. Not at all, not okay. Your fault.
Okay, so the city actually, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, the city had to write off about 700 million rand. That was actually used for a revenue system that never worked, Sizwe. So there's a problem we are actually facing. It's a serious challenge.
We're actually, Mr. Mncwango, we're going to cut to a break because we've come to the end of the segment, and I know that you're battling with load shedding there, so we will come back after the break. But let me pause it there. We're talking the Ethekwini Municipality, and as you may have seen in recent times, there were scenes of what some have called brawls, what others have called a violent ejectment from the council over the question of why the city has not spent a grant given to it by Treasury to the tune of 1.5 billion rands in the context of disaster relief, which is so sorely needed. We're discussing that with a panel of various political parties, and we'll be back after the break to discuss this question of the violent ejectment and quote, brawl in the council and understand exactly what happened in that situation. Stick with us and don't forget to comment on social media at Unfiltered SABC. Welcome back to Unfiltered. We're discussing the Ethekwini Municipality and whether the crisis around the 1.5 billion conditional grant for disaster relief that has not been spent in this financial year should be placed at the door of the municipality in Ethekwini, or as some claim in other quarters. And Mr. Nkosi, can I ask you, we saw these scenes that went viral on social media of the council meeting where it seemed that security personnel had been called in to forcefully eject members of the EFF, which they resisted, and it turned into some kind of altercation. Do you agree with the tactics used to eject the EFF, and do you agree with the tactics that the EFF used in what we saw unfolding on social media?
Well, let me start by saying I think the speaker did not use a good strategy, because I don't think that it's all members of the EFF that were supposed to be given marching orders. For me, maybe the chaos or the debate or argument started with few people were in terms of our rules. If the speaker called you to march out, you have to do that. But also, when the police came in with firearms, for me, that was very clumsy and very, very dangerous. I don't think that that should happen. I'm not saying EFF did a right thing in what they did. I was not present in council, but when you watch the videos, you could see that it was very clumsy. We shouldn't conduct ourselves in that manner. That's why I'm beginning to say I think the speaker should handle it better than what he did on that day. But also, the way our security came in, it shows that they did not have a plan. Maybe it's because it was the first time for them to be caught by the speaker to remove members. I'm not too sure, but we were very exposed as members of the council in Ethekwini that how weak it is, our security. But I do believe that the speaker will learn that in future how to deal with matters like that, rather than just to take the whole caucus outside, call the metropolis coming in with firearms, of which I still questioning the integrity of his decision to call metropolis and security with firearms inside. Should it happen that anyone pull his or her gun, you will find that we'll be talking about something else today. But there are ways of handling debate in council. I'm glad that my brother, Mr. Mvubu, as a leader of the AFF, is here. I think they know that ratepayers and voters, they watch us from the beginning to the end. So for us, exchanging fights in the council, it's uncalled for as leaders. We shouldn't do it in that way. But I think also they were also frustrated because it's not only the matter of the unspent grant. There are so many issues in the Ethekwini that are not attended to, issues of service delivery. You can come with your cameras, with your SABC, you see what we are talking about. When we talk in committees, ANC does not want to listen. When we talk in council, ANC does not want to listen. I'm glad this time around, EFF, as they're voting with them, they have also have the same frustration as we do have as other political parties.
Mr. Mvubu, what do you say to those who suggest that once the order was given for members to leave the council, the EFF was duty-bound to do so, and that you had made the point about the unspent grant by that point?
No, thank you very much again, Sizwe. I think we must just accept that we tend to do things differently as a party. And if the colleagues don't really view the 1.2 billion being threatened to be taken away from the city as a crisis, like as a major crisis, which actually demanded that everything must be on standstill. We're talking about 1.2 billion here. 1.2 billion, this is meant to build houses for the people of KwaMashu, Zuma, Umlazi. That's were affected by these floods. So we were not going to tiptoe around the issue, as it were. Remember, Sizwe, the EFF currently is charged with the responsibility of chairing this Committee of Human Settlement and Infrastructure, which the bulk of this 1.2 billion, if not all, was actually allocated to this committee. So we couldn't really just allow the council to continue as if it's business as usual.
Mr. Mvubu, put to you what the ANC have said, who we did invite tonight and they weren't able to join us, saying that your intention is to remove a democratic government out of power. They have criticized the decision as an insult to the voters of Ethekwini. How do you respond to the ANC's stance on what happened in that council meeting?
I think losing 1.2 billion to National Treasury is the biggest insult that could have happened to the people of Ethekwini. And again, I honestly don't know how us holding the official, who is our employee, by the way, as a collective, as councillors there in the city of Ethekwini, warranted that the ANC must come and, call media briefing and speak about us, because we did not, even if you can go back and check on our debates, mentioned anything in relation to the ANC. The only person that we get to speak about was the city manager. But I think maybe perhaps Sizwe, this got to confirm the diagnosis that has been done by the EFF in our brief day in participation in government. That you get to get super powerful officials that think they are untouchable because maybe they facilitate bribes to certain politicians to a point where you get officials telling the politician what to do. which is supposed to be the other way around. I think it's just gets to expose the leadership in the form of the secretary, provincial secretary of the ANC, to just jump and speak on the EFF. One thing that we did not speak about, because all this we were saying this, we are not going to allow the CC manager to be part of the people that are presiding over in that sitting of council, because under his leadership as the head of the administration, we are going to lose about 1.2 billion, which is very needed and necessary in the city of Ethekwini. As we've always repeatedly said, we were hit by disaster. So there is no way there's anyone as a political leadership that we're going to be able to explain ourselves to the people of Ethekwini as why. What are the reasons as to why we are losing 1.2 billion, where there are so many challenges, the issue of sewer,
right.
The issue of...
Yeah, let me bring in, because I will come in the next segment to some of the deeper challenges beyond the spending of this grant. But Mr. Mncwango, of course, there has been a debate about what happened in the council sitting, whether it was appropriate for security services to be brought in, but also whether the EFF's response to that was appropriate. How do you see this issue, and where, again, do you believe the balance of blame lies for the viral social media images that we saw?
Yeah, thanks, Sizwe. Sizwe, allow me to correct first what I said earlier. I think I made a mistake. And the request made by the city was 1.9 billion rand, and Treasurer rejected about 389 million rand.
Sure,
not
300 million.
389 million rand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a big issue, and there's a big amount that,
sure,
that the city can utilize. But coming to the question you are asking, Sizwe, it is unfortunate that we end up to this situation. Unfortunately, the speaker himself as well and the ANC ignites some of these challenges. I'm not saying EFF was right to respond in the manner which they responded, but also as councillors, we also raised the issue of police on how they handle the situation. Our rules of order allows that our protection in the city can escort a councillor out of chamber, but it's not clear exactly what it means escorting someone out of chamber. What if someone resists? What they do? That is why I agree with Mdu Nkosi that it's a challenge to say when someone comes inside the chamber with guns, we saw even buckets of water flowing all over. What will happen if someone pull a gun from a police officer and start to shoot people in the hall? It's a challenge. We think it's unfortunate. It shouldn't happen in future. We are hoping that also the EFF in future, they will find other means and ways of handling this kind of situation. But this is frustrating when the speaker is bulldozing councillors in terms of what they can say, what they can do in council. Even today, for example, we had a motion, serious motion, where ANC is found to be corrupt on the issue of ICC and ANC Women's League Conference. We're trying to steal public funds. When we try to debate a motion, the speaker is bulldozing us and switching off the mics because we are online. Can you imagine if it was physical? We were going to respond also in a harsh way to the speaker, because the speaker was actually bulldozing ActionSA and other sellers.
Right, absolutely. And we'll delve into this debate further as we untangle Ethekwini and its municipal woes at the moment, especially around an unspent grant from Treasury meant to relieve the disaster that we saw from the floods which affected KwaZulu-Natal. Stick with us. We're going to talk about deeper questions of service delivery as we come back, and whether the municipality should or shouldn't be placed under administration. Stick with us. Welcome back to Unfiltered. We're discussing recent events in the Ethekwini Municipality which have placed a cloud over the administration of that municipality, especially as it relates to a grant from Treasury for disaster relief funds. You'll recall after those devastating floods, and what has happened to the spending of that money in this financial year. There's a debate, the ANC administration suggesting that that money can still be spent and rolled over, whereas opposition parties have suggested it should already have been spent in this financial year. Mr. Nkosi, could I come to you around this question of a motion of no confidence, because the IFP has been quite vocal about the need for this. Where do we stand on that, and are you confident in a motion of no confidence succeeding?
Well, I am hoping that political parties that are representing people of Ethekwini will support our motion. We did not put our motion, the motion as IFP, because it's just that we want to put a motion. Remember, the mayor is supervising a city manager. City manager is then responsible for the whole of more than 20,000 municipal employees. If service delivery is not happening in Ethekwini, yet we're controlling billions, now you ask yourself, where is the problem? Then it means mayor is not doing his job, because he's responsible for ensuring that in terms of the budget, we are doing correct. If there is something that may arise, and that he must come and notify council in time. So in this time around, people of Ethekwini are complaining about all service delivery across Ethekwini. Now you ask yourself, where are these billions go to? Now it means we need to change leadership. For changing leadership, it means we will then able to say, how then can we go too deeper into the problems that are there, ensuring that people of Ethekwini get what is due to them in terms of the service delivered. You know, in Ethekwini, people are now even not eager to pay services because they are no more getting services from us. Now, we're hoping that all political parties this time around, they are not going to defend the ANC. We'll need to remove them in power and put other people. Can you imagine if we can have a situation of other metros like in Johannesburg, in KwaZulu-Natal? That's the only metro that we have. So the metro that's supposed to ensure that the economy of KwaZulu-Natal is growing, but it's going down, down, down. If AG can find that there is irregular of 5 billion, more than 5 billion rand, it tells you that there's a problem. For the intervention for national, it tells you that there's a problem. Now we're heading to section 139 because no service delivery is happening in Ethekwini.
Mr. Mncwango, what do you think about the call for a motion of no confidence? Do you think it's a wise move at this stage, and what are the prospects of its success?
Look, Sizwe, I think it's long overdue. Unfortunately, I said to you when I got disconnected, it was load shedding. It wasn't. It's a power fault, actually. There's no power as I'm speaking to you. When I arrived from work in the morning here, there was no water in the entire area. The areas here, some of them have water shading because of poor services. There was an area in Durban North, for about 3 weeks they had no water at all. Now you ask yourself, what kind of city is this? The mayor himself also is a liar. He lied on record in a finance committee meeting where he denied the issue of a payment or a possible payment. It was going to be made for the ANC Women's League conference. It was going to be paid by the city. He lied and said they were signing MOU for Women's League conference, and that meeting was cancelled. He was a liar. So now we are sitting in a situation where we have about 500 million rand irregular expenditure being requested to be written off. So how can the city, in this way, we are appealing to EFF and other parties to support the motion to remove the mayor so that we can really elect leaders that can lead this city. As I said earlier, we are on autopilot. We have no leaders at the moment. We can't be continuing this way. I can tell right now, ratepayers had to go to court to even try to say, look, we can't even pay rates because we don't get services. Why should we pay rates? When you go around Ethekwini, Sizwe, they sue all over. It affects our economy. Imagine the tourism sector, how it affected. Ethekwini itself contributes about 60% of GDP in this province, but we are really affecting the sector at the moment because we can't attract tourism. Why? Because we can't fix our infrastructure. The city is dirty all over. So that is why we believe that the motion is justified, it's long overdue, but also we are saying it's high time that the province as a cabinet really look at the option of putting Section 39 in Ethekwini and really put administration, because there is no way you can go this way.
Mr. Mvubu, where does the EFF stand on this question of a motion of no confidence?
No, thank you very much again, Sizwe. Look, the both colleagues that speaks about the motion of no confidence against the mayor, we go in the same council with them. So it can then be that we are going to get to be engaging with them with regards to an issue of emotion via media, because both of them, I don't know who wrote the motion, if there's any motion that is currently been written to the speaker, whether it's the ActionSA or the IFP. But I would have believed that if there is any, because none of us in the council, in the ANC, command an absolute majority. So then that gets to boggles the mind as to how then a person can speak about putting a motion without canvassing our views as a caucus there in council. Look, Sizwe, I'm not a spokesperson of the municipality or desk of the ANC. Currently, the EFF is part of government in Ethekwini. As I said, we are responsible for human settlement and infrastructure. And in our brief stay, as I said, in less than 6 months, we have been able to achieve a lot of things, as I can mention, because you must remember that last year around this time, many of these swimming pools and the ocean was really contaminated by E. coli. But we took a deliberate action that we are going to make sure that we get to deal and resolve those issues. So there's when the festive season comes and the beach goers and the tourists that come to visit our city, they will be able to come to a space where all those issues have been dealt with. I mean, as in even yesterday, we embarked on a vigorous oversight campaign just to check whatever that the official gets to report to us that they are doing on the ground, so that we are able to see for ourselves. So I cannot honestly, I can only speak about what we do, and it is exactly what we did when we correctly processed it, that there is no way there's when we have so many challenges, 1.2 billion can get to be returned to the National Treasury, instead of getting all the officials, especially those are under our cluster, to do what is it that they are supposed to do. Thank you.
Are you worried about the fact that the ANC's ultimate control, as we said, over the executive authority will taint the EFF now, because you are in this arrangement of governance, even though it's not as executive as in other provinces and municipalities, and also I believe the ANC has said that they are rethinking this relationship with the EFF in Ethekwini. What's your response to that?
Well, look, we can never be tainted by the ANC, because we don't get to forget who we are or get to be swallowed by the system. And that's maybe one of the reasons why the leadership of the ANC in the province is saying that they want to rethink what is currently happening in Ethekwini, because I think they came to appreciate this. They cannot do what the ANC have been doing to other political parties, where they get to be lost in the system and they lost identity and they end up not knowing what they stand for. We agree. We don't even have a coalition arrangement with the ANC, by the way. They know this. There is nothing that's written down that the EFF has an arrangement with the ANC. We agree on specific issues if we feel that they are in the best interest of our people. But if we feel that there is no benefit to the people of Ethekwini, we don't support those items. So our relationship...
We're just running out of time for this segment, but I will come back to you, Mr. Mvubu, for our final segment. We're discussing the Ethekwini Municipality, where the balance of blame should lie on questions of poor service delivery and unspent funds. Stick with us as we chart the way forward after the break. Welcome back to Unfiltered. We're discussing the Ethekwini Municipality. Where does the balance of blame lie for poor service delivery as well as unspent funds? And we are in conversation with panelists from various political parties. Mr. Mvubu, could I come to you again and just ask on this question of administration? There have been calls for quite a long time for placing the municipality under administration. How do you react to those calls in light of some of the failures in service delivery that we continue to see in Ethekwini?
Again, Sizwe, I'm just going. It's just unfortunate that you were unable to secure the representatives that are going to speak on behalf of the municipality, and that's on behalf of the ANC. The only thing that we can speak about is the EFF is what is it that we are doing, being given this responsibility in government, and our diagnosis and our reflection, I think so far, being there within a space of 5 months, I mean, we were quite satisfied with our performance, as it were. And we are not shy or apologetic by the fact that we are the first installation of government. So the only way that we are going to learn how to govern is to govern. So all those things that I've mentioned that's within our short stay we've been able to achieve, I think we are quite happy with that. But with regards to what's then becomes the view and the perspective of what must happen to the city, I think the officials of the city are better placed to speak on this, because I'm not going to be able to speak on their behalf. The only thing that I can be able to speak of is about the role that we get to play as the organization given this responsibility.
Let me put the same question then to Mr. Mncwango, because I know you've been supportive of the call for administration. Why do you think that that's the right step in this case?
Look, since when there's no accountability in a municipality, then you can see there's a need for 139, because there's a big motivation. For example, since not long ago, Mvubu can also attest to this. The city paid about 17 million rand to a company that was supposed to build houses, and they didn't build any house, they live in a single house. So 17 million rand paid from a big city like Ethekwini to someone who haven't done anything, with no house at all, not even one house. So how to explain that? And how can you explain when the city is prepared to pay 5 million rand for ANC Women's Day conference? How to explain that? So then we can sit as councillors and say everything is fine. No. That is why we are saying we have tried everything as councillors to hold the ANC to account and government to account. And we are saying now, the cabinet must relook at this issue of Section 189 and really rescue this municipality. Because if we continue this way, it's collapsing. And by the time we realize it will be too late, that is why we believe that something must be done, not tomorrow. We believe now something must be done.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Section 189 means that the province would take a more active role in municipal affairs. Why do you think that the provincial administration would fare better than the local municipal administration?
No. Remember, they said administrator. So meaning some powers are given to administrator. So then you hope it's someone who really have some understanding of municipal functioning and how the municipality should spend budgets and the processes, and make sure that really everything is done according to the books. So at the moment, they do whatever please them. There's no process being followed. That's a challenge we are saying. We can't go on like this, because as I said earlier, the council at the moment is leaderless. That is why we seem to accept what IFP is proposing, because when there's no leader, then everyone assumes power. That is why everyone believes they've got power to do whatever they want. So it's a challenge, hence we are saying something must be done. Unfortunately, yes, the province is governed by the same organization. They are also corrupt as hell, but we are saying the Constitution provides that intervention.
Sure, and I guess there are further questions about this decision, or at least call, Mr. Nkosi, about placing the municipality under administration. Why have you made this call, and why do you think it would be preferable to the situation we have now?
Let me start by saying all political parties that are representing people that are serious about the service delivery, it doesn't matter who have moved the motion, whether it's a political party that have only one seat. I think we're all in a situation now to have to support that motion. But also again, I think as opposition parties, we are trying whatever that can assist people of Ethekwini, whether it's the motion, whether it's Section 139, where you can bring someone who will administer in the affairs of the municipality, because administrator is the one that ratifies whatever decision that has been taken by either the city manager or the council. That person, it must be someone who is knowledgeable with the municipality to come and rescue, because the aim is to come and rescue. We need those kinds of intervention as a Ethekwini, as now we have intervention from national of Section 154, of which it was refused by the ANC colleagues, because they believe that they still capable to run the affairs of the municipality. But I can tell you, even not now, if you go back on during the time of Go Durban, Durban have never moved. It's Go Durban that is white elephant, wasting the resources of Ethekwini. People are continuing funding that project, but it's not assisting us. We pump a lot of money on RMS. We warn them that RMS is not going to assist us. They fixed something that was not broken. I'm talking about coin system in terms of billing. Now they wanted to change. Now all those monies that are being pumped into projects that are not materialized, it's a waste of money. And it requires us to come together as political parties to say enough is enough. No matter whether it's EFF that have moved the motion, as IFP, we have to support the motion. So then we remove leadership that cannot see at the end of the tunnel.
And Mr. Nkosi, can I just stick with you as we round off and approach the final thoughts? What do you think can be done to improve the state of governance in Ethekwini? What do you think is the most important lever that can be pulled? Let's assume that you had power over that municipality. Where do we start to turn things around for the people in that important municipality in our country?
I do believe opposition parties have capable leaders that can bring a good positive in Ethekwini, but also the leadership that can come in. One need to eradicate the issues of factions within the officials, because officials in the city are not supporting each other. There were officials who were not supporting the current municipal manager. There were officials who were supporting the current municipalities. So you need a decisive leadership that will come and deal with those issues, so then people will then focus in what they were employed for.
Right.
Because officials are employed to ensure that service delivery is being rendered.
Right, and Mr. Mncwango, your closing thoughts in about a minute as we're running out of time.
Yeah, quickly, Sizwe, nothing that can't be fixed in Ethekwini when you've got right leaders. All we need is ethical leaders with integrity, and also where we're able to employ officials based on merits, not care deployment. And I think every problem in our city can be fixed as long as we get ethical leaders who understand what is needed out of them, and also officials can account, understanding that we're using ratepayers' money here.
Indeed. And Mr. Mvubu, your closing thoughts as we round off the show?
No, our closing remarks will be that the people of Ethekwini must be grateful, and they must continue to vote and support the EFF, because it is through the fighting spirits of the EFF that's ensured that even the National Treasury will have to bow to this, so that they don't get to take away this 1.5 billion, which is meant to rebuild the houses and the roads of the people of Ethekwini. Colleagues might have looked at us as if we are crazy when we're protesting and demonstrating this. We're not going to allow the presiding officer in the form of a city manager. But today we have indicated that the money is coming back to the city, and there's a chairperson who's responsible for human settlement and infrastructure. We are going to make sure that our EFF caucus goes to each and every project to make sure there's deliveries are happening, and all those projects are going to be completed on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mvubu. Mr. Nkosi, Mr. Mncwango, thank you very much for your insights this evening as well.
Go and fix the sewer, Mr. Mvubu.
As you can see, the conversation will continue. Let's continue the conversation on social media as well at Unfiltered SABC. How do we turn Ethekwini around so that it becomes a thriving municipality for its residents? Who's to blame for unspent disaster relief funds in this financial year? And should the municipality be placed under administration? These are some of the questions we've canvassed with our panel of opposition parties. We did invite the ANC tonight, but they declined our invitation. Let's continue this conversation on social media, and remember to stay tuned to Unfiltered News, Unfiltered Views, and Unfiltered Conversations. Have a good night.